this last week at the meditation class in Spokane that we do weekly, we talked about removing partiality. A while back, I read a comment in the New York Times that is pertinent to this, I think. So, impartial compassion is difficult. It's not so easy. You know, we have so many ideas about people, and the sum total of that often, I think, is to keep us quite separate from one another. And sometimes, it's just harder to feel connected with people when we don't understand them, when we have such different lives, different belief systems, those kinds of things. And of course, again, feeling so cut off, and then our minds proliferate all kinds of ideas about certain groups, and it's really not helpful at all. Because as the Buddha teaches us, we are all the same, all wanting happiness and not wanting to suffer. And so I thought I'd read this comment from this person in Minnesota who was reacting to an article about the arrest of Ahmad Khan Rahmani in connection to the bombings in Manhattan and on the Jersey Shore in September. I think this is a woman, and she says, "If I wasn't a Muslim myself and had not personally experienced and practiced the truthful, peaceful side of religion, I would have a hard time believing my own words too. When you see young Muslim men murdering innocent people across the world in the name of my religion, how can I convince you that Islam, my religion, is a religion of peace? I understand your fears, I understand your perspective, and I only hope you can understand mine. I hope you can find some compassion for the 1.6 billion people who are currently watching our religion being hijacked by extremists. I hope you can try to find some compassion for the millions of us in this country who hold our breath, waiting for the name of suspects to be released after an act of violence, and either breathing a sigh of relief when it's a random white guy, or choking on that breath and cringing at the thought of what tomorrow will be like for us and our families when the person in question belongs to the Muslim faith. Just like you, we are also angry and afraid and hurt. Some of us are having a harder time dealing with this than others because of one hateful and violent person suddenly represents the rest of us who are trying to do good in the world." So that was a very moving comment that I read. It really touched my heart, and it helped me to get a little perspective of how that would feel if that was my faith. And then I was thinking about, if every time I walked down the street, people looked at me with fear and distrust and concern, and thinking that everything that I was living had to do with violence and wanting to hurt others. Yeah. So perhaps when we see or meet people who seem to be so different than us, and instead of just jumping to conclusions and putting them in a box and being biased, if we could open our hearts a little bit and our minds and maybe learn a little bit about other people And of course, here is where interreligious dialogue is so important in this country. But even, if we're not involved in that, but just seeing people that are different, to watch what our immediate response is, to take a note of how my mind is putting them in a box, how my mind is labeling them, how my heart is distancing from another living being, and to try to really change that habitual pattern and to look at that person as just like me, wanting happiness, not wanting to suffer. If we all could do that just even a little bit, our world would change tremendously. There would be so less suffering in this world if we could do that. So let's practice that one.